What's up, y'all? Okay. So, I just posted a video yesterday. Well, Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to try to post this today. I don't think it's going to be terribly long. So, I should be able to post it tonight. If not, you'll see it Tuesday. But anyway, it's Monday. And I was thinking about something, so I want to make a little video. And just talk. Okay? Just kind of talk. So, a little bit of backstory. Also, I tried to run through this on my way home. I have a long drive. I was trying to run through this on my way home, so hopefully I don't do a bunch of rambling. Kind of keep my thoughts together. We're just going to see how it goes. Okay, so it was maybe a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Y'all have heard me mention Roots and Refuge, their channel. I still follow them, and I pretty much watch just about everything that they post. But this was maybe a couple weeks or so ago that I see something on the screen. I think it's on top of my head, but it's just on the phone. But anyway, she posted a video and she was talking about, what exactly was she talking about? It prompted this thought for me, but this wasn't exactly what she was talking about though. She was talking, okay, so y'all know this saying, and I can't remember which way it goes. I thought it was perfection is the enemy of progress, but I think she said the enemy of good or something. So I thought it was progress, but I might be combining two different things. So that's really what she was talking about. And, the idea being that trying to do things perfectly or an ideal way can be stifling to the point that you may just not do anything at all because you can't do it this particular way. And she said something there that made me think about this. So this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about that though, that she was talking about. So, you know that for the most part, I try to do more of like the no-till kind of growing. I'm trying to think now, have I already talked about this? I don't know. Hopefully not. But I try to do that for the most part, especially out in the garden space. And I'm gonna give you the cliff notes first, and then I'll go back and talk. I will say for me, that has not been the best thing. It's not been the best thing. It's probably great for the soil, like it's purported to be. But yeah, for me, that has not been a great experience. Okay. Now, now the long part. So what her video made me think about with that though was how there's such a push for certain things, and when you're doing them, to do them a certain way. So if you want to grow in a way that feeds and helps the soil or the soil life, microorganisms, all of that, then this is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to do. You don't need to till, you don't need to dig and disturb the soil and pulling up, roots from your plants and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, I do believe that's still a great thing. But I don't believe that that's the best thing in every situation. And this is another channel I follow, No-Till Growers. He was talking about, I don't know if it was recently that he talked about this. I've been watching a lot of his older videos because I actually just started following him in the last couple months. So I've been watching some old stuff. But I feel like I watched a video recently where he talked about this from one of the questions I think he got. And was just saying how you really have to consider your situation, right? So if you're dealing with compacted soil, if you want to grow in that anytime soon, trying to just dump compost on top might not be the best idea. You need to actually work that in. But anyway, going back to the thought of what's ideal. Yeah, so, there's all this talk about this, and in me trying to do that or doing that, I found that it's just not the best thing for me. And I kind of, sorry, I was out of the burp. it's just one of those things where I kind of beat myself up a little bit about that, because if not for me buying into these ideas of this is how it should be done, this is what you need to do, like doing it those other ways, the ways they used to do things, is not what you should be doing. If not for me buying into that, I could have saved myself a lot of headache, a lot of trouble, and just, yeah, it could have been better. Now, again, I do feel like there are some aspects of that are good. And depending on your situation, just the standard, cover the soil, or, cut it really low or something, then put some cardboard down, put some compost down, a thick layer of compost, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Depending on your situation, that might work perfectly fine for you. But it just does not work fine for me. So, example. I have the borders around the house. Well, on the front and the back of the house. And then I have that one little piece on the side that I just did last year. Well, not on the side, but that little corner section. Those borders and those two deeper, like taller raised beds that I have outside of the garden fences, as far as weed control, those have been the best spaces. Those borders and the deeper beds. Now, the deeper beds kind of goes without saying that the deeper beds are going to be better. But as far as in-ground spaces, which is what I'm really talking about, because that's mostly what I have in the garden, is in-ground beds. Those borders, miles ahead of the other spaces, of the actual gardening spaces. But the thing was, because I was mostly just planting ornamentals in those. I mean, I have the berries and a few, some edible things, but those are mostly ornamental spaces for me. I didn't really put so much, I didn't care as much about trying to take care of the soil life and all of that stuff. So when I put those borders in, I dug those out and backfilled them. So, like, I don't have sod. I just have some, like, kind of crazy, wild stuff growing in the yard. But I basically kind of cut the grass out like it was sod, so that way I could take those chunks of grass and put them in some low spots in the yard. But I dug that out, and then I either put, like, some compost garden soil mixture or whatever. I don't remember what all I put out there. But yeah, I dug it out and backfilled it and put my plants in. That is what I should have done in the garden. I should have dug those beds out. And I will say, another thing with that, sorry, I'm trying to get some kind of order going here in my head. Another thing with that is that right now, so both of those two channels that I mentioned in this video, they are in similar growing conditions. They have, rainfall is similar, the climate, soil, like they have, the same clay soil that I'm dealing with, all of that. But starting out, most of the people that I was watching and following, even if they were in the same growing zone, or maybe they got the same kind of heat I got or something like that, their conditions were just different. They were different. They don't get the amount of rain that I get. They don't have Bermuda grass or something similar to that they're having to deal with. So when you say, put this cardboard down on top of this and then cover it and, wet it and cover it, whatever, and, you're going to smother the stuff out over time, it's been years. It's been years that I've had these beds out here, and I still deal with this stuff. Like, this year, I didn't re-cardboard the beds. You know how I'm doing the cardboard stuff on the peppers? I might talk about that later if I remember. But as far as putting cardboard down again and putting compost on top of it again, like if you're starting a no-dig bed, I think did I redo that last year? I've done it more than once on these spaces. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. Like it stays too wet. And again, I have some stuff growing that it just comes through. Now, you know what, I will go ahead and mention the peppers. So what I'm doing there, and I did this last year and I'm doing it again this year because I like the way it worked last year. I have that cardboard on top. Now, obviously initially when I did those beds, I put the cardboard down and put compost down and all that. But I have found for me, for weed control on that, in that space, putting that cardboard on top of, well, first of all, clearing out what I can and then putting the cardboard down has worked better. And the cardboard is just kind of it's just a cover basically. And I'm thinking, I feel like that has worked better for me than the cardboard compost layering thing, because with me getting so much moisture here, the cardboard, if it's between soil and soil and then the compost on top, it's staying wet and it's breaking down, which is what you want it to do. That's what you want it to do, right? But with the amount of moisture I get, it breaks down too fast. It breaks down so fast that it doesn't actually have time to smother or kill anything underneath it. So with what I'm doing now, I'm thinking because I don't have that soil on top and it's able to dry out whenever the rain stops, it can dry out and it doesn't just break down like that. It's staying. So I still have to put, like, I have bricks and stuff on top of it to keep it in place so it doesn't just blow away. But that is working pretty well for me. Now, I do still have to deal with the Bermuda because any little space, it'll find its way. Like, if I have it layered like this much over each other, it'll still come up through here and come out of the opening on this side. Like, the Bermuda is like, I'm getting out here. But, yeah, so I found that that's working pretty well. And then, you know, I was talking specifically about those in-ground beds and the borders. I do still have to do some weeding with the borders. And it's mostly around the edges. But even with that, if you look at, I'm trying to stick with these because with the borders get the same amount of inattention in the off season that the garden beds get. And they still do not give me near the amount of trouble. They don't. Like, I'm not out there weeding the flower beds in the winter the same way I don't go out and do much, you know, with the garden beds. And you know, like this past year I was trying to do the cover crop thing, that didn't really work out. And so then I ended up with all this stuff that I had to clean out in the spring, that just grew in because there was nothing there and I didn't cover it because I was trying to grow something. But, and realizing too that makes a difference too if I'm actually more intentional about, well, I won't say intentional because I was intentional, it just didn't work out. But if I do more to cover that up, that would make a difference as well. But still, like, there's plenty of spaces in these borders. Like, they're mostly full, but there's still spaces where it's like, it's just exposed surface area. And it just does not get as bad. It doesn't. It does not get as bad as the garden beds do. So, yeah, that. So I guess the thought then is, well, if that works so well, then why not just do that now? That has been a thought. And I wouldn't say that it's completely not a thought now. But it's something that I don't really want to do. It is a chore weeding, especially with the Bermuda grass. And again, there's some other things that come up that are just like, they are like rooted. They root. But it's an option. For me, I would rather not do that, just because, like I said, this has been years that I've been, working with these beds. And that means that's been years in money, however much money worth of compost and, fertilizer, whatever amendments that I've been putting out there. So for me to dig that out would be throwing that money away. And I ain't trying to do that. I'm just not trying to do that. I'm not trying to do that, because if I dig that out, all that compost that has now worked in from me doing this for the last few years, I'm gonna dig it out, and then I'm gonna have to go buy more to put it back in there, So it's like, I am not trying to do that. I'm not trying to do that. So, and maybe that's something that I could do gradually, not try to do them all at once, but, I'm going to do this one this time and then do another one, a month from now or something, you know what I'm saying? Especially during the off season, maybe doing it then and just doing like one a week or something. Who knows? But like I said, restarting those, digging them out and throwing it away. You're not literally like in the trash, but I mean, it ain't gonna be doing what I put it there to do. That's not something that I want to do. So, I'll look at what I'm gonna do with that. But getting back to why I'm sharing this with y'all. Why I'm sharing this with y'all, is just to say that I'm gonna jump back to the Roots and Refuge video right quick, and the whole being stifled by trying to do it a certain way. The fact is, the ideal way may not work for you anyway. So, I mean, do the best you can, okay? Because you could be holding out for that, and then it just doesn't even work for you, or it doesn't work well. So there's that. But that's not actually what I was going to say, though. I was just going to say that. Well, that is kind of what I was going to say, but not necessarily on the ideal might not work for you. I was just going to say, if you can't do the ideal thing, I mean, try something else, because you might find that it works better. I don't really know how to tell you to do that without spending a few years on it the way I did, and having already put so much compost down that you don't want to now go back and do it the way that you feel is going to work better, because you feel like you just wasted a lot of material. I don't really know how to tell you to do that. I guess, if there are people around you, gardeners around you, that are dealing with the same things you're dealing with, they would absolutely be a good place to start. So I don't hear something. I had the ceiling fan on, and I think it's like messing with something over there. But yeah, I mean, that would be a good place to start. Or, if you wanted to, kind of do like some test spaces, you would still be able to grow in these spaces like that year, but you would be able to see like, okay, what was better about this and what was better about that. Here's the thing. So one of those channels that I follow, that I mentioned that I get a lot of information from, but he's really not growing in the kind of conditions I'm growing in, Charles Dowding. Now, on his property, he has like some test beds, right? Where he does just like the normal no-till thing. And then he has some beds where he tills it. I think he tills it like once a year, or maybe something like that. And he has them like next to each other, and he plants the same things, and he's able to compare it. So maybe you want to do something like that. Maybe if you know that you want to put like 3 or 4 rows in, well, maybe do those rows differently. Right now, you probably wouldn't want to do a really big row if you think that you might have to dig it out later. You might not want to do a really long row, okay? Because again, then you're looking at possibly having wasted a bunch of stuff. But I mean, just some little test plots, I guess. And going back to him and, you know, some of the others that I follow that I was talking earlier about, like, not necessarily having the same conditions that I have. So kind of taking pointers from people that can contribute some to what I'm doing. They can, which is why I still follow these channels. But they just don't really have the same conditions that I have. It's okay to still follow people who don't have what you have. Okay, who have some differences, because I mean, even if it's just for like how you're starting certain seeds, right? You may not realize that, okay, this particular crop germinates better if I put a heat mat under it or something. I don't have heat mats. It's just an example, you know, but that's the kind of thing that regardless of where you're growing outside, if you're starting stuff indoors, that information could be useful to you. So, I mean, you can still follow people who don't have the same things going that you have. But it is I would say gonna be more beneficial for you to find people who have similar conditions to yours. Let's see. Was there anything else I want to say? I'm trying to think through this whole conversation that I had in the car on the way home. I kind of tried to talk through this video. I don't know. We'll just say that that's it. We'll say that's it. I'm not going to sit here and waste too much of your time while I try to think of whether or not there was something else I wanted to say. Yeah, let me just go ahead and cut it. Bye, y'all. Hey, y'all. So one quick comment. I'm kind of watching that back and recalling some things that I was supposed to say, and I don't think I said. I haven't watched the whole video back, so hopefully I didn't say it and I'm repeating it. But I mentioned those deep beds briefly. I don't think I've returned to them, but I did want to say I do still have stuff come up in those beds, and I do still get Bermuda grass in those beds. It's mostly around the corners. It's mostly around the edges, I would say. I don't think I get too much come up like right in the middle of the bed or anything. So I did want to say that, because the argument could be made that the reason the in-ground, like raised beds, they're still raised. They're just, you know what I'm saying? The reason those other beds didn't really work as well is because the compost wasn't thick enough. Well, those beds have thicker compost. They are better, but I still have to clean them. I still have to weed them. I still have Bermuda grass stubbornly hanging on. So, yeah. When I was talking about the flower beds, I do want to mention, and I'm just kind of thinking of just some arguments here, okay? I do realize that the garden beds have a lot of perennials in them. So not the gardens, the borders. They have a lot of perennials in them, so, you know, their roots spread out and all that stuff. So I do know that contributes to, you know, keeping down on the weeds. But just hear what I'm saying in the video, okay? I can see that there's a difference. All right. So even before I got the borders as full as they are, it was still not as bad as the garden beds. Okay. I just want to throw that in because I thought about that. That was one of the things that I thought about when I was thinking about this on my way home, and I just forgot to mention it in the video. So, okay, bye for real this time.